The emergency lights flashed red throughout the Galactic Council chambers. Ambassador Kelrick stood at the central platform, his three eyes blinking in sequence as he presented the evidence that had shaken the entire governing body. On the massive holographic display above him, a ship rotated slowly. It was human in design, but like no human vessel the Council had ever authorized. This energy signature appeared 6 days ago, Kelrick said, his translator converting his clicking speech into standard galactic. Our sensors detected it near the human colony of New Perth. The readings are impossible. This vessel generates more power than 3 Council dreadnoughts combined. The assembled representatives from 40 species murmured in concern. In the human section, Ambassador Chen sat perfectly still, her face showing nothing. Beside her, the junior attachés looked genuinely confused. Either they were excellent actors or they truly knew nothing. Senior Counselor Vextha rose from her elevated seat. Her species, the Krell, had been spacefaring for over 2,000 years. She had seen empires rise and fall. The concern in her voice made everyone pay attention. Ambassador Chen, humanity joined this council 300 years ago. You agreed to full technological transparency. You submitted your military assets for registration. Explain this vessel. Chen stood slowly. She was an older woman, gray-haired and calm in a way that suddenly seemed more dangerous than reassuring. Counselor, we submitted all military assets that fell under Council jurisdiction. What does that mean? Vextha demanded. It means some assets predate our membership. Some programs were never technically under our unified government's control. Some promises were made before we knew there was a galaxy to join. The chamber erupted in angry voices. The Thalrin delegation was shouting about treaty violations. The Osean Empire demanded sanctions. Through it all, Chen simply waited, her hands folded in front of her. Kelrick slammed his manipulator appendage on the podium. You deceived us. This vessel uses technology you claimed not to possess. Controlled singularity drives, gravitational weapons, quantum displacement shields. These are all forbidden or unknown technologies. Unknown to you, Chen corrected quietly. Humanity developed them in isolation, before first contact. We never claimed we destroyed that research. We simply agreed not to deploy such systems in Council space. She paused. That ship is not in Council space. It never has been. Vextha's crest flared in anger. Where is this ship operating? Everywhere that matters, Chen replied. Everywhere that you are not. The Galactic Council had never been threatened by a member species before. Not like this. The traditional response would be to send the enforcement fleet, a combined force from 12 species designed to handle rogue elements. Vextha authorized it immediately. 6 hours later, the enforcement fleet arrived at the coordinates where the mystery ship had been detected. They found it exactly where the sensors had predicted. The vessel hung in space like a predator, dark metal and angular design that spoke of function over elegance. It was bigger than expected, nearly 3 kilometers long and covered in weapon arrays that no human ship should possess. Fleet Commander Zeknor opened communications. His species, the Vryn, had been warriors before they became peacekeepers. He knew when he was looking at a real warship. Unknown human vessel. This is the Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet. You are in violation of multiple treaties. Power down and prepare to be boarded. The silence stretched for 10 seconds. 20. Then every display in every ship lit up simultaneously. The signal was so powerful it overrode their communications. A human face appeared, male, middle-aged, with the hard eyes of someone who had seen too much. This is Commander Marcus Webb of the UHSN Prometheus. That designation stands for United Humanity Space Navy, a service branch that existed before you made contact with Earth. I am broadcasting on all frequencies, so there is no confusion. Zeknor felt his blood chill. The human's voice was level, professional, and absolutely certain. This is a message from old Earth, Webb continued. When humanity first detected your signals, our world celebrated. First contact, peace among the stars. Our governments rushed to join your council, to take our place in galactic civilization. But some of us remembered history. Some of us remembered what happens when one civilization meets another with good intentions and different power levels. Webb's image was replaced by historical footage from Earth, wars, colonization, conquest, all human against human. But the lesson was clear. So we made a promise, Webb said, his face returning. We would hope for peace. We would work for peace. But we would prepare for reality. The contingency fleet was born in secret, built in the dark beyond your sensors, crewed by volunteers who accepted they might never come home. We have watched you for 3 centuries. We have protected human interests when your council failed to do so, and we have remained silent because our existence itself is a deterrent. You are threatening the council, Zeknor transmitted. No, Commander. We are reminding the council why humanity accepted your peace. Because we chose it, not because we had no other option. 3 human colonies have gone silent on your watch. Silent, not destroyed. And your council said nothing because it was politically inconvenient. The enforcement fleet's sensors suddenly screamed warnings. 5 more energy signatures had appeared across human space, all identical to the Prometheus, all broadcasting the same message. Some of us never stopped preparing, Webb said. Some of us never stopped watching. And now you know we exist. The question is what happens next. That is a conversation for politicians. We are simply here to ensure humanity has a voice in that conversation. The transmission ended. The Prometheus remained exactly where it was. Weapons powered but not locked on targets. Waiting. The enforcement fleet held position, suddenly aware they might have just found something they were not equipped to handle. Back in the council chambers, Chen was already walking out. Behind her, she heard Vextha calling for order. There would be meetings, negotiations, anger, and fear, but humanity's secret was out, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. The year was 2090, and humanity had just confirmed they were not alone in the universe. The signal from Alpha Centauri was clear, mathematical, and undeniably artificial. Earth erupted in celebration, but in a secure facility buried beneath the Arctic ice, a very different conversation was taking place. They found us, General Okoye said, staring at the decoded message on her screen. We estimate first contact within 20 years, maybe 30. They have faster-than-light travel. We do not. Around the table sat representatives from 12 nations, the only governments trusted with the truth. The public saw hope and wonder. These people saw danger and opportunity in equal measure. We don't know their intentions, said Director Liu of the Asian Coalition. They could be peaceful. This could be the beginning of a golden age for humanity. Or the beginning of the end, replied Ambassador Torres. Every time in our history when a technologically advanced civilization met a less advanced one, it ended badly for someone. We need insurance. They called it the Contingency Fleet Program. The public would never know. The official space programs would continue, building stations and exploration ships preparing for peaceful contact. But in secret, humanity would build warships, real warships, the kind that could protect their species if friendship turned to conquest. Sarah Okonkwo was 26 when she volunteered. She stood in the recruitment office deep in Luna Base 7, a facility that officially did not exist. The officer reviewing her application was an older woman with scars on her hands and sadness in her eyes. You understand what you are signing up for? The officer asked. This is not a 5-year tour. This is not even a career. This is your life. I understand, Sarah replied. If we are wrong, if the aliens come in peace, I spend my life on a ship that never fires a shot. If we are right, I protect every human who gets to live in that peaceful galaxy. The officer nodded slowly. You will be in suspended animation for decades at a time. You will wake up to a world that has moved on without you. Your family will age. Your friends will forget you. Officially, you will be listed as a deep space explorer who died in an accident. There will be no medals, no recognition, no history books. I did not volunteer for glory, Sarah said. I volunteered because someone has to. She was assigned to the UHSN Prometheus. The ship was built in the Kuiper Belt, so far from Earth that no casual observation would spot it. The construction took 15 years. Automated factories assembled components from materials mined from ice and rock. The scientists involved had created something that pushed human engineering to its absolute limits. The power source was a contained singularity, a miniature black hole held in suspension by magnetic fields and quantum tricks that barely worked. It generated more energy than anything humanity had ever built. The weapons were equally extreme. Kinetic cannons that fired projectiles at significant fractions of light speed, thermal lances that could boil metal from 1,000 kilometers away, missile swarms controlled by networked artificial intelligence, and the gravitational disruptors, weapons that twisted space itself. Sarah walked through the ship during the final inspection. It was huge, 3 kilometers of dark metal and purposeful design. Every system had multiple redundancies. Every weapon had been tested in secret ranges beyond Neptune. Every member of the crew had volunteered knowing they might never return. Beautiful, is it not? Asked Commander Reeves, the Prometheus's first captain. He was in his 50s, a veteran of 3 wars Earth had tried to forget. Humanity's hope and paranoia made physical. It is terrifying, Sarah admitted. We built this to fight aliens we have never met. What does that say about us? It says we learn from history, Reeves replied. Every optimist hopes for peace, but the survivors prepare for war. We are not conquerors, Lieutenant Okonkwo. We are insurance. The galaxy will hopefully never need to know we exist. First contact happened in 2112. The Galactic Council arrived with ceremony and celebration. They brought technology, trade agreements, and friendship. Humanity joined the galactic community with joy and relief. The pessimists had been wrong. The universe was civilized, organized, and welcoming. In the Kuiper Belt, the contingency fleet did not stand down. New orders, Reeves told his crew. We go dark. Total communications blackout except for emergency quantum channels. We continue the mission as planned. But sir, Sarah protested, they are peaceful. The Council is offering us everything. FTL drives, medical technology, membership in a galaxy-spanning civilization. We were wrong. Reeves looked at her with tired eyes. Were we? Or did they simply not reveal their true nature yet? The Council spans thousands of worlds, Lieutenant. They have been out here for millennia. They know how to appear peaceful. But structure and intention are different things. You do not trust them, Sarah said. I trust humans to protect humans, Reeves replied. Everything else is hope. Hope is wonderful, but hope is not strategy. The Prometheus began its long patrol. The crew cycled through suspended animation, with rotating shifts maintaining the ship. Decades passed. Sarah woke up once every 20 years, spent 6 months on duty, then went back to sleep. Each time she woke, Earth had changed. Humanity had spread to 100 worlds. Technology had advanced with Galactic Council help. Everything seemed perfect. But the contingency fleet remained. 6 ships total, scattered through space, always watching, always ready. They monitored communications, tracked ship movements, studied galactic politics from the shadows. They became ghosts, myths, the veterans who refused to believe the war was over. Sarah became commander of the Prometheus in 2287. By then, she had been technically alive for 197 years, though she had only been awake for 40 of them. Earth was almost unrecognizable, but the mission remained the same. Do you think we will ever go home? Her second officer asked one night. Sarah looked at the stars and thought about the family she would never know, the life she had sacrificed. Home is relative, Commander. We are home. This ship, this mission, these people. This is what we chose. No regrets? Sarah smiled slightly. I did not say that. But regret does not change duty. We are the ones who remember that peace is not guaranteed. We are the price humanity pays for the luxury of trusting their neighbors. And if that trust is misplaced, we are the response. She had no idea how soon that response would be needed. The Galactic Council assembled an emergency session for the 3rd time in as many days. The revelation of the contingency fleet had thrown galactic politics into chaos. Species that had considered humanity junior partners now reassessed everything. The humans had lied by omission for 3 centuries. What else were they hiding? Ambassador Chen stood before the Council again. This time, the other human delegates stood with her in a show of unity. The message from Earth had been clear. Support the ambassador. Show no weakness, the Council demands answers, Senior Counselor Vextha announced. Her voice carried the weight of authority built over 2,000 years of civilization. How many ships? What capabilities? Where are they located? And most importantly, why did you hide them? Chen met her gaze steadily. We hid them because we did not trust you. We still do not. The chamber exploded in outrage. Representatives were shouting in a dozen languages, their translators creating a wall of angry sound. Vextha restored order only by threatening to clear the chamber. You dare insult this council? The Osean representative hissed. His species resembled Earth's reptiles, and his anger made his hood flare wide. We welcomed you. We shared our knowledge. We treated you as equals, did you? Chen asked quietly. The chamber fell silent. 3 human colonies on the frontier have stopped transmitting. New Perth, Columbia Station, Kepler's Hope. Over 40,000 humans gone silent. Their quantum communication arrays simply stopped working. No distress signals, no warnings, just silence. She pulled up holographic displays showing the 3 colonies' locations. All of them bordered hegemony space. The hegemony was not part of the Galactic Council, a rival power block that controlled nearly as many systems as the Council itself. When did this happen? Asked Representative Thorne of the Vryn Collective. New Perth went silent 4 weeks ago. Columbia Station 3 weeks. Kepler's Hope 8 days ago. Chen paused, letting that sink in. We reported all 3 incidents to the Council immediately. We asked for investigative support. We requested permission to send our own ships to investigate. And we advised patience, Vexta said carefully. These situations require delicate handling. The hegemony is sensitive about border incidents. Sensitive, Chen repeated. Her voice carried an edge now. 40,000 humans are missing, possibly dead. And the Council advised patience because you did not want to upset the hegemony during your treaty negotiations. The Vryn representative stood up. You are suggesting the Council abandoned your people? I am stating facts, Chen replied. The Council received our request for help. The Council chose not to provide that help. The Council placed politics above the lives of our citizens. So yes, Representative Thorne, the Council abandoned our people. That is exactly what I am suggesting. Before anyone could respond, every display in the chamber changed. The same transmission that had reached the enforcement fleet now played for the entire Council. Commander Webb's face filled the screens. The contingency fleet was created because humanity feared exactly this scenario, Webb said. We feared that joining your civilization would mean surrendering our ability to protect ourselves. We feared that your laws and treaties would tie our hands while threats emerged. We were told we were paranoid. We were told the galaxy was civilized. The footage changed, showing the 3 silent colonies from orbit. Empty, dark, but not destroyed. The cities were intact. The infrastructure undamaged. The people simply gone. We sent scouts, Webb continued. Fast ships with stealth capabilities you do not know we possess. We found what happened to our colonies. The hegemony has developed a new weapon, a device that disrupts neural activity on a massive scale. It does not destroy. It simply renders entire populations unconscious. They then arrive with transport ships and remove everyone before they wake up. The Council chamber was absolutely silent now. Several representatives had gone pale, or whatever their species equivalent was. Where are our people? Chen demanded. What has the hegemony done with 40,000 humans? According to our intelligence, they are being held on processing stations in hegemony space, Webb answered. They will be offered a choice. Become hegemony citizens, work in their factories and mines, accept their rule, or be classified as hostile and dealt with accordingly. This is not war. This is slow conquest. Take frontier colonies one at a time, relocate the populations, and present the Council with facts that are already established. Vexta stood slowly. These are serious accusations. Do you have proof? The displays changed again, showing sensor logs, intercepted communications, and footage from the Prometheus's scouts. The evidence was overwhelming and damning. The hegemony had been conducting this operation for months, targeting the most vulnerable Council member colonies, not just humans. 3 other species had also lost frontier settlements. Why did we not know this? Demanded the Thalarin representative. Because you were not looking, Chen said. Because frontier colonies are expendable compared to core worlds. Because the Council was too busy negotiating trade deals with the hegemony to notice they were stealing your citizens. The political fallout was immediate. Representatives began shouting at each other. Alliances fractured, accusations flew. Through it all, Chen stood quietly, waiting for the chaos to run its course. Finally, Vexta called for order. What do you want, Ambassador Chen? We want our people back, Chen said simply. We want the Council to acknowledge its failure and take action. We want assurances that this will never happen again. And if we cannot provide those assurances, Chen smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression, then the contingency fleet will provide them for us. Commander Webb has made a proposal. The fleet will retrieve our people. They will ensure the hegemony understands that human colonies are not easy targets. And they will continue to operate independently, because the Council has proven it cannot be trusted to protect human interests. That is unacceptable, Vexitha said. Member species cannot maintain independent military forces. That is fundamental to Council law. Then humanity will withdraw from the Council, Chen replied. Every human delegate nodded in agreement. We will remain friendly neighbors. We will continue trade, but we will not surrender our ability to protect our people. Not again. Not ever. The chamber erupted once more. The crisis had reached a point where there were no good options. The council could force compliance, but that meant war with humanity, and suddenly no one was certain what humanity's true capabilities were. They could accept humanity's terms, but that set a precedent that would destabilize the entire council structure. Or they could do nothing and watch the contingency fleet take matters into their own hands. In the end, Vextham made the only choice she could. The council will send a delegation to negotiate with the hegemony for the return of all captured civilians. But we cannot sanction independent military action. Noted, Chen said. How long will these negotiations take? Diplomatic processes require time. Perhaps several months. You have 72 hours, Chen replied. After that, the contingency fleet handles the matter their own way. And, Counselor, I suggest you advise the hegemony to evacuate their border stations. Commander Webb's patience is considerably shorter than mine. She walked out of the chamber, followed by the entire human delegation. Behind her, the Galactic Council faced a reality they had never imagined. Humanity had been the friendly newcomers, the grateful juniors, the species that needed guidance. That illusion had just shattered. In its place stood something much more dangerous, a species that had been preparing for betrayal since the day they joined the stars. The hegemony did not evacuate their border stations. They did not return the captured humans. Instead, they interpreted the Council's hesitation as weakness and humanity's threats as bluffing. After all, the humans were a relatively new species. Surely they understood the consequences of attacking a power that controlled over 600 star systems. On the third day after Chen's ultimatum, the hegemony launched what they called a peacekeeping operation against New Geneva, another human frontier colony. They arrived with overwhelming force, 12 warships, troop transports, and the same neural disruptor that had worked so effectively before. They expected the colony to fall silent within hours. They expected the Galactic Council to issue a formal protest that would be ignored. They expected humanity to accept the reality of galactic politics. The Prometheus arrived in 4 hours and 17 minutes. Commander Sarah Okonkwo, now over 300 years old but awake and sharp, stood on the bridge of humanity's secret weapon. Around her, the crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had drilled for this moment for centuries. Now it was finally real. All stations report ready, her tactical officer announced. Lieutenant Park was young by contingency fleet standards, only 80 years old with just 20 years of awakened service. But his hands were steady on the weapons controls. Hegemony fleet is in standard occupation formation, the sensors officer reported. 12 warships in orbit, 4 troop transports beginning descent. Neural disruptor is charging for deployment in approximately 8 minutes. Sarah studied the tactical display. The hegemony ships were powerful by galactic standards. Heavy shields, plasma weapons, and numerical superiority. In a traditional engagement, they would be a serious threat. But the contingency fleet did not fight traditional engagements. Open a channel, Sarah ordered. All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this. The communications officer nodded. Channel open, Commander. Hegemony vessels, this is Commander Sarah Okonkwo of the UHSN Prometheus. You are conducting an illegal military operation against a human colony. You have one opportunity to withdraw. Power down your neural disruptor and leave this system immediately. You have 2 minutes to comply. The response came quickly. A hegemony commander appeared on screen. His species' 4 eyes blinking in what Sarah had learned was contempt. Unknown human vessel, you are outgunned and alone. Your council has no authority here. Leave now or be destroyed. Sarah smiled. It was not a kind smile. I gave you a chance. Remember that? She closed the channel and turned to her crew. Weapons free. Commence engagement. Show them what humanity built in the dark. The Prometheus moved like nothing the hegemony had ever encountered. Human ships in council service were elegant, built to council specifications following galactic norms. The Prometheus was none of those things. It was a weapon designed by a species that had perfected warfare against itself for thousands of years before reaching the stars. The kinetic cannons fired first, not energy weapons that could be dispersed by shields, but solid projectiles accelerated to 20% of light speed by magnetic rails. The first salvo hit 3 hegemony warships before they could react. The projectiles punched through shields like they were not there, through armor like it was paper, and turned the ships into expanding clouds of debris. The hegemony fleet scattered, trying to bring their weapons to bear. Plasma bolts and particle beams lashed out at the Prometheus. The human ship did not try to avoid them. Instead, its quantum displacement shields activated, creating fields that redirected incoming energy into pocket dimensions where it dissipated harmlessly. Technology the Galactic Council did not know existed. Technology the hegemony certainly did not know how to counter. 3 ships down, Park reported calmly. 9 remaining. They are attempting to target the colony. Negative, Sarah said. Activate the missile swarms. From launch bays along the Prometheus's hull, thousands of small missiles erupted into space. Each one was independently intelligent, networked with the others, capable of adapting tactics in real time. They swarmed the hegemony ships like angry insects, overwhelming point defenses through sheer numbers. Where one missile was destroyed, 3 more took its place. Where shields blocked one approach, the swarm found another angle. 4 more hegemony warships died in the space of 90 seconds. The remaining 5 attempted to retreat, their commanders finally understanding they were facing something beyond their experience. Sarah did not let them leave. Thermal lances, maximum range, she ordered. The Prometheus's most terrifying weapons activated. Focused beams of thermal energy, hot enough to ionize metal, reached across space and touched the fleeing ships. Hulls began to glow, then melt. Atmosphere vented as seams failed. Reactor containments breached, causing internal explosions. Within 3 minutes, the entire hegemony fleet was destroyed or disabled. Only the troop transports remained, still descending toward New Geneva. They were unarmed, carrying soldiers who had expected an easy occupation. Sarah felt a moment of pity, then remembered the 40,000 humans who had been kidnapped from 3 other colonies. Disable their engines, she ordered. I want them alive to deliver a message. Precision strikes from the kinetic cannons destroyed the transport's drive systems without breaching their hulls. The ships tumbled through the atmosphere, emergency systems barely managing to bring them down without killing everyone aboard. They crashed in open terrain outside New Geneva's main city. The troops inside survived, trapped in vessels that would never fly again. Sarah opened a channel to the colony. New Geneva, this is the Prometheus. The hegemony attack has been neutralized. You are safe. The response was confused, grateful, and frightened in equal measure. The colonists had no idea who had saved them. They had not known the contingency fleet existed until this moment. Who are you? The colony administrator asked. We are the insurance policy your grandparents bought, Sarah replied. We are the humans who never stopped watching. Tell the hegemony troops we left alive to carry a message back to their government. Tell them this is what happens when you threaten human colonies. Tell them we have 5 more ships exactly like this one, and we will use all of them if necessary. She closed the channel and turned to her communications officer. Broadcast on all hegemony channels. Wide beam, maximum power. I want their entire government to hear this. The officer nodded. Ready, Commander. Sarah stood and faced the recording sensors. She wanted them to see her. To understand this was not a bluff or a random attack. This was a promise. Hegemony leadership, this is Commander Okonkwo. You have conducted illegal operations against human colonies for months. You have kidnapped over 40,000 of our people. You believed the Galactic Council's hesitation meant humanity was weak. You were wrong. Behind her, the tactical display showed the debris field that had been a hegemony fleet. You have 72 hours to return every human you have taken. Every single person, alive and unharmed, return to their colonies or to designated council stations. If you comply, this incident ends here. If you do not comply, we will visit your worlds. Not your military bases, not your border stations, your homeworlds. And we will show you what happens when humanity stops being civilized. She let that sink in for a moment. This is not a negotiation. This is a certainty. Return our people or face consequences that will make this battle look gentle. We are giving you more mercy than you showed our colonies. Do not waste it. The transmission ended. The Prometheus began its burn out of the system, leaving the wreckage and the grounded transports as evidence of humanity's new stance. On the bridge, Sarah sat down heavily. Her hands were shaking slightly. They had just killed thousands of sentients. It had been necessary. It had been justified, but it still felt heavy. Commander, Her second officer said quietly. The hegemony is responding. They are withdrawing from all human colonies. They are requesting coordinates for returning the captured civilians. Sarah closed her eyes briefly. Good. Send them the coordinates. And monitor their movements. If they deviate from their word, we respond immediately. The galaxy had just learned what humanity had kept hidden for 3 centuries. They were not just optimistic explorers grateful to join civilization. They were survivors who had brought their hardest lessons to the stars. And they had built weapons that made galactic powers hesitate. Earth's unified government chamber was full for the first time in decades. Representatives from every major nation, every colony, every human settlement across 300 light-years had gathered. The holographic feeds showed thousands of faces, all focused on the same question. What do we do about the contingency fleet? Prime Minister Adeyemi stood at the central podium. She was young for the position, only 63, and she had inherited a crisis that predated her birth. The situation is unprecedented, she began. For 300 years, the contingency fleet has operated in secret. Now the entire galaxy knows they exist. The Galactic Council is demanding we bring them under democratic control or disband them entirely. The question before this assembly is simple. What is the will of humanity? The debate that followed was anything but simple. The colonial representatives spoke passionately about the Prometheus saving New Geneva. Without the contingency fleet, the hegemony would have taken another colony. Without their intervention, 40,000 humans would still be prisoners. How could humanity disband the force that had proven its necessity? But the core world representatives had different concerns. Admiral Okafor from Mars stood to speak. I do not question the contingency fleet's effectiveness. I question their accountability. They operate outside our chain of command. They make decisions that affect all of humanity without consulting any elected government. Commander Okonkwo ordered an attack that killed thousands. She threatened to attack homeworlds. These are acts of war, and she made those decisions alone. She saved our people, countered Representative Martinez from the outer colonies. While the council debated and our government asked for permission, Commander Okonkwo acted. She did what needed to be done. Without authorization, Okafor pressed. That is the definition of a rogue military force. Today she acted in our interests. Tomorrow, next year, who controls the contingency fleet? Who can stop them? If they decide our elected government is not acting in humanity's best interests. It was a valid fear. History was full of military forces that believed they knew better than civilian leadership. But history was also full of civilians who had failed to protect their people when it mattered most. In the Galactic Council chambers, a parallel debate was happening. The council had to decide how to respond to humanity's revelation. Some species called for immediate sanctions. Others argued for understanding. The hegemony's actions had shocked many council members, forcing them to confront their own failures. Senior Counselor Vextha met privately with Ambassador Chen. The two had become unlikely allies in the crisis. Your contingency fleet has placed the council in an impossible position, Vextha said. We cannot allow member species to maintain independent military forces. But we also cannot deny that the fleet saved lives when we failed to act. Chen poured tea for both of them, an Earth custom Vextha had come to appreciate. The council was built for a different time, a time when the hegemony was not aggressive, when frontier colonies were not vulnerable, when politics did not override protection. Times have changed. The council must change with them or become irrelevant. What do you propose? A compromise, Chen said. The contingency fleet continues to operate, but not in secret. They become humanity's declared defensive force, subject to observation but not command. They protect human interests when the council cannot or will not. In exchange, we agree to full transparency about their capabilities and deployments. The other species will never accept it. If humanity can maintain an independent fleet, others will demand the same. Chen smiled. Let them. The Vryn have their warrior clans. The Thalrin have their defense spheres. Many species maintain forces outside council structure. The difference is we were honest about ours. Eventually, it was a fair point. The council's theoretical monopoly on military force had always been more aspiration than reality. The contingency fleet had simply made that truth impossible to ignore. Aboard the Prometheus, Sarah Okonkwo sat in her ready room and read the messages from Earth. There were thousands of them. Some called her a hero, others called her a war criminal. Most were simply confused, trying to understand what the contingency fleet represented. One message caught her attention. It was from a young woman named Keisha, 17 years old, living on New Geneva. "Dear Commander Okonkwo," it read, "you saved my colony. You saved my family. Everyone here is grateful. But I have a question. My teacher said you have been alive for over 300 years, that you have spent most of that time asleep, waiting for a war that might never come. Why would anyone choose that life? Why would you give up everything to protect people you have never met?" Sarah stared at the message for a long time. Then she began to type her response. "Dear Keisha, I volunteered for the contingency fleet because I understood something that my generation learned from history. Peace is not the natural state of the universe. Peace is something that must be protected, maintained, and sometimes fought for. When I was your age, humanity had just discovered we were not alone. Everyone was excited. Everyone was hopeful. But some of us remembered that hope is not strategy." She paused, considering her next words carefully. "I gave up a normal life because someone had to, because the alternative was trusting that the galaxy would always be kind, that our new neighbors would always be fair, that politics would never override protection. The hegemony proved those assumptions wrong. But even if they had not, even if the galaxy had been perfect for these 3 centuries, the contingency fleet would still have been necessary. Because the moment we disbanded, the moment we decided we no longer needed insurance, that would be the moment something would go wrong." She finished the message and sent it, knowing it would likely be read by millions. The contingency fleet could no longer operate in secret. They had to justify their existence to the very people they protected. The final decision came after 3 weeks of debate. Earth's government and the Galactic Council reached an agreement. The contingency fleet would continue to exist as humanity's independent defense force. They would operate under observation, with regular reporting to both Earth's government and the Council. They would not be subject to Council military command, but they would be bound by the same laws of war that governed all galactic conflicts. In exchange, humanity agreed to several conditions. No expansion of the fleet beyond its current 6 ships, no deployment of their most extreme weapons except in defense of human colonies, and mandatory rotation of command staff, ensuring that no single person held power indefinitely. Sarah read the terms and smiled. It was a compromise that gave everyone something and no one everything. The politicians could claim they had brought the fleet under control. The Council could claim they had maintained their authority. And the contingency fleet could continue its mission with the resources and recognition they had lacked before. But the most significant change was cultural. Applications to join the contingency fleet had exploded. Young people from across human space wanted to volunteer. They saw the Prometheus not as a relic of paranoia, but as a symbol of humanity's refusal to be victims. They wanted to be part of that legacy. Sarah interviewed the first new recruit, a young man named James Chen, grandson of Ambassador Chen. He sat across from her with the same determination she had felt 3 centuries ago. "You understand this is not a glamorous life," she told him. "You will spend most of your existence in suspended animation. You will age slowly while everyone you know lives normal lives. You will train for battles that may never come. And if they do come, you will do things that keep you awake at night." "I understand," James replied. "But someone has to stand watch. Someone has to be ready. I want to be one of those people." Sarah approved his application and dozens more like it. The contingency fleet would continue, not as a secret force, but as an acknowledged part of humanity's defense. They would remain the insurance policy, the guardians in the dark, the ones who remembered that peace was a choice that had to be defended. 3 months later, Sarah returned to suspended animation. Before she slept, she recorded one final log entry. "This is Commander Sarah Okonkwo, UHSN Prometheus. We are the warship humanity built in fear and operates in necessity. We are the ones who remember that civilization is fragile, that peace is precious, and that both require eternal vigilance. The galaxy knows we exist now. They know what we can do. Some fear us, some respect us, some resent us. All of that is acceptable." She looked at the camera, her ancient eyes still sharp. "We are not heroes. We are not villains. We are simply the humans who refuse to believe that hope was enough. We are the contingency. We remain vigilant, we endure. And when humanity needs us again, we will be ready. Because some of us never stopped watching. Some of us never stopped preparing. And that will never change." The log ended. Sarah closed her eyes and entered suspended animation, joining the long line of volunteers who had chosen duty over comfort, vigilance over peace of mind. Around her, the Prometheus continued its eternal patrol, its weapons ready, its crew cycling through the centuries. And across human space, 5 more ships broadcast the same quiet message. Still watching, still ready. The galaxy had learned that humanity was not just another member species. They were survivors who had brought their hard-earned wisdom to the stars, and they had built warships to ensure that wisdom was never forgotten. The contingency fleet endured, a reminder that peace was wonderful but preparation was survival. And humanity had learned long ago that survival was not negotiable.